Welcome to behind the scenes. Faster, boy!
I'm sorry!
There are some odd little things that can occur due to funny little cause and effects. For those of you who are unaware, we have a TikTok. Last May, our pseudo-Floridian Eve had an idea for a rhythm involving hammers. Shortly after, we uploaded a video to the aforementioned TikTok. 2 days later, an additional pseudo-Floridian named Chase responded to this video by making an entire song over it. For those of you who are unaware, Chase is a singer-songwriter specializing in fantasy and D&D style music based currently out of Canada. Just our sort of nerd. Enamored by his siren song, we quickly rushed to send a message and invite him over to make a sword with us. Sadly, our initial invitation was declined. Travelling from Newfoundland is a bit of a trek to make for a sword, apparently. However, Chase did suggest that we could work together in making a music video for his next song. He didn't know what the song was yet, but those were details we could iron out later. And just like that, it was sorted. Plane tickets were booked, and a story was put into place. The song would tell the tale of a pair of blacksmith brothers, an older, more rugged, handsome brother, strong, calm, charismatic, collected, dominant and tall, set on that Sigma male grind set with that homesteading-based red-pilled lifestyle. This character, naturally, would be played by Ben. There was also a younger, more impulsive brother played by Yanto. The tale would begin with the brothers walking through the woods. There they would find a fantastic shiny sword next to a rusted suit of armor and a corpse laid in front of it. The armor, played by the talented Aaron, was in fact a cursed set, once an adventuring warrior, long dead and forced to walk the land by ancient magics, corrupted by the greed and desire of the magical sword. The corpse was Joe. Not wanting any part of this foolishness, the older of the two would take his brother home to think nothing more of it, but, tempted by material possessions and simping over that sick blade, his younger, more beta brother would sneak off and, unfortunately, get vibe checked. The older brother finds his kin all stabbed up in an incredibly emotional scene worthy of at least one Oscar. He promptly heads back to ye old Oldfield Forge to make a suit of armor and a big old hammer to get some sweet revenge. The hammer is 130 centimeters and 6 kilos to anyone on TikTok who's been asking. He then comes back, claps the haunted armor's rusty cheeks, and lives happily ever after or something. Now, Chase wasn't able to bring 2 suits of armor, a sword, and a giant hammer over on his flight because Air Canada are massive cowards, so it fell to Oldfield and pals to make the props. A suit of armor for Ben was quite easy. We have plenty of friends who do reenactment, LARPing, and bowhurt, and Ben has several suits himself. As we were going for the freshly forged look, we did have to avoid some of Ben's more damaged armor, and Joe from the Full Contact Medieval Fighting Team's Swords of Cygnus lent him some very nice legs for the day too. The main problem we had was finding the haunted armor. It had to have full body coverage, as there wasn't supposed to be a live human inside. It ideally wanted to be strong enough to take decent hits from a very large hammer, and it wanted to be old and rusty enough looking to look like it had been left outside for generations. Oddly, the last part was the hardest bit. Either nobody had, or nobody wanted to admit to owning rusty, badly cared-for armor. So, unfortunately, we had to commit some terrible, terrible deeds.
God, it's just not right. It's just not right.
A combination of vinegar and rain left us with a hideous but imposing and oddly autumnal set of haunted armor. Another prop was desired to demonstrate the true monstrous nature of the armor. In the opening scene, an unnamed wanderer attempts to defend himself from the abomination by stabbing it in the eye. Sadly, Aaron objected to the easiest option here of simply being stabbed in the eye, so we had to spend several £1,000s in R&D to make a workaround. Initially, a rough knife with a point that screws on and off was devised. Sadly, the cut line was a bit too obvious, so we decided to scrap that idea. What we eventually settled on was a single handle and 2 identical blades. A shorter blade that stuck out of Aaron's face and was attached to the inside of the helmet.
Does being stabbed in the face feel good?
Yeah.
Good.
It's A-okay.
Excellent.
And another for Joe to swing around in a menacing yet inevitably ineffectual fashion. Clothing was supplied by the reenactment group Historian Omanis, and random scraps of cloth and leather found at Ben's house provided the rest. So, car filled with props, camera equipment, extras, and Canadians, we headed to our local castle. Getting Aaron dressed was the biggest chore upon arrival, but once we'd managed that, it was time to put his armour on. While the red cloak for Yanto didn't make the final cut, he kept it on while not shooting as it was very warm, and he has the body temperature regulation ability of a tropical lizard. Joe donned the most peasanty outfit we had and then proceeded to quote Holy Grail for the rest of the day.
I can quote Holy Grail for days.
Our first scenes were with Joe and Aaron. The opening shot of the video setting the scene and showing off the undead mystical nature of the armour. Joe sneaks up to the seemingly dead rusty knight to pilfer his oddly unrusted sword. Aaron, eternally awake and sensing the nearby presence of a Londoner, turns his head and, confirming his biases towards people from Croydon, is immediately stabbed in the face. Aaron then stands up. Joe falls over, and the ensuing cut to black implies his death, cementing Joe's debut role as corpse number 1. Aaron, returning to his slumber, removes the knife from his face, where he nonchalantly discards it. Sadly, the shot of it landing perfectly on the ground was not included in the final video. Joe will now spend the rest of the day as he does both professionally and romantically, laying down, putting in the minimum effort required. Ben dons his armour, and it's time to fight Aaron for the final scene of the video. For those of you who are wondering why we film these in such an odd order, Ben's facial hair will answer all questions later. While both of these lumbering fools are used to melee combat of some variety, Aaron is half blind due to the bandana hiding his face, so care is taken in this fight scene. Speaking of lumbering, Aaron's movements are made specifically to look rotten, undead, and mechanical, whereas Ben's are meant to look more like a man who's been dressed by someone who doesn't know what they're doing. While initially the fight leans in Aaron's favour, Ben's helmet is knocked off and he falls down the hill, allowing him more face time as he heroically gets to his feet. He nobly wins his final stand against the monster, and then, motivated by years of working alongside Aaron, lets out a healthy emotional response. The first part of castle filming is done. Now it's off to the forge.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll just wait for this guy. No, take your time.
Pretty sure knights have the right of way, so.
Yeah, I thought so. Something in the Magna Carta about that. Right.
Those of you who have had an experienced day here at Oldfield will recognise this forge. We picked the old brick one here as it looks just a touch more fantastical than the others, and has an anvil that won't hurt Ben's back as he works. As you can see, we decorated the background with armour, shields, cloth, and general medieval-esque bric-a-brac. The bowls and cups are a little extra detail to show Ben's character has spent a long time eating and drinking at the forge. This is slowly stripped away in the next couple of shots alongside the armour that he forges along the way. This being a video involving blacksmithing, we naturally have to get a big smashy shot in where sparks go everywhere, including the wooden bowl off to the side. Another way of showing the passage of time, Ben is dirtied up initially and has his beard slowly shaved and face cleaned as we removed the armour and utensils.
Your biggest secret.
Because that's too dirty. It's supposed to look like I've been working hard. Oh my.
Sorry, I got attacked by a fly. Give us a twirl. Nice.
We aren't sure if this comes across in the final video, but we thought it would be funny to ruin his facial hair regardless. Now that Ben has a more youthful face, we can bring in Yanto for his scenes, where we establish him as just capable of holding a rhythm, and with almost enough self-control to not look at whatever Aaron's doing in the background. It's been a long day. It's almost 3 PM, so it's time for a little nap in the Scandinavian hut, where Ben and Yanto keep warm. This is the last scene where we will see Yanto alive before he takes a dagger to attack the already established stab-proof monster. Back to the castle again. The reason for all this forwards and backwards is continuity. Now that we have a newly shorn Ben, we can get the shots from earlier in the video, such as Ben and Yanto on a walk, Ben and Yanto wrestling, Ben throwing a well-placed rock at the behind-the-scenes cameraman.
Guess what?
Awesome.
This is also where Ben calmly explains to Yanto that perhaps they shouldn't take stuff from what is clearly a murder scene. Chase, bringing a pot of fake blood, applies it to Yanto's chest, while Yanto complains about something as per the norm.
Yanto wasn't listening to the health and safety again, and now he's dead.
Too much vigorous shaking her bed.
Well, all right. So listen to me next time, and I won't shake you. I'll shake you as sounds like damn well. Please.
I'm just trying to catch Aaron misbehaving.
Last scene to be filmed is Ben's aforementioned Oscar-winning performance, where he finds his brother, stabbed, bleeding, and alone. He tries everything in his power to bring him back home once more. Anything to bring his little brother back from the brink of death. To not have him face this cruel world alone. To keep what little remains of his family intact just a little longer. And with his medical knowledge failing him, he swears vengeance against his new enemy.
I caught him.
And with that, the filming draws to a close. Thank you to Iska Hereford, Historian Omanis, and the Swords of Cygnus for helping us provide the props. And for those of you who wish to see the final video, head over to Chase Noseworthy's channel by following the link in the description. And finally, to top off our fantastical and ridiculous day, we head over to see Danny and Sid at the Galway Moon to show Chase a traditional English pastime.
Brought Chase to a proper British pub.
This has been Oldfield Forge. Thank you for watching.